Victory over Western Suburbs just 2 weeks ago. There's the South Sydney side, bolstered by the return of Harrington, Moon, and also the big prop forward in number 40, Ian Roberts from first grade. And that really is a strong side. They won the minor premiership by 4 points. But whether or not this side, the Penrith under-23s, can create Sydney Rugby League history by going through to win their grand final from 5th spot. The Balmain boys tried it from a playoff from 5th spot, Wayne, but fell foul last week. No score in the under-23 grand final, the first of the big action you're watching on Network 10 this afternoon. We're covering all 3 grand finals live and all the colour and pageantry of the 86 grand final. South Sydney on the move. It goes out to Jason Moon on the left wing, and he's well mowed down and in fact driven into touch by the second row forward, Mark Geyer, who probably, Wayne, is one of the biggest men out on the field here this afternoon. Tans of the second row forward, the prop forward for Penrith. Here's Geyer, the big strong run. Slotting into dummy half now is Thompson. Inside the 22, Penrith on the attack. They elect to go the blind side, the good dummy. Here's a chance for Penrith. Pass back in, but finally picked up by Brad Webb, the fullback for the South Sydney side. Probably, Wayne, their best attacking position in the match so far.
Well, they've certainly got they've won the feed here. It's a bit of danger here for Penrith, that's for sure.
And that's Moon taking it about 12 metres out from the Penrith line. Going into dummy half as the fullback, Brad Webb. He spots the gap and goes the blind side. Exactly 10 metres out from the Penrith line. 15 minutes gone in the under-23 grand final. It goes out through Neville. There's a good pass. There's a try for South Sydney. The man going over is Alan Nelson. And South Sydney hit the lead by 4 points to 0. Just after 16 minutes of play in the first half of the under-23 grand final for 1986.
Just a case of standing in the tackle here. Joey Thomas gets the ball out to Neville. Neville holds the ball up and over goes Craig Weeks, backing up under the post there. Great support play.
So what a way for South Sydney to begin.
I think, David, that's the value of just holding onto those passes and not really throwing any risky passes. That was on, and they took their opportunity.
So Alan Nelson certainly the hero for South Sydney in this early part of the first half of the under-23 grand final. They lead by 4 points to 0 with the kick to come. And once they got into that attacking position, they certainly capitalised on the win against the feed. And Penrith certainly paying the price. So Darryl Neville, the young 5/8 for the South Sydney side, a chance to put his side even further ahead. He's raised the flag, so the score at the Sydney Cricket Ground, South Sydney lead Penrith by 6 points to 0. Man coming into dummy half is Craig Weeks, the captain of the South Sydney side. Out to Chisholm, cuts out Roberts. There's Neville, out to McCarthy. Finally, it's David Moon who's claimed in the tackle and driven over the touchline 10 metres inside Penrith's end of the ground. And Curry, the centre three-quarter of Penrith. Now Chisholm works it outside the 22. Webb. That's the man that put South Sydney in the lead. The big prop forward, or the second row forward, Joe Thomas, who put them in the lead by 4 points to 0. The conversion by Darryl Neville sees South Sydney lead by 6 points to 0 as Warren Gentles tries to run the ball outside that 22. Got it back to his fullback. A bad mistake picked up by McCarthy. Downloaded to Harrington for the corner. Bumps off the man, and a try to South Sydney, their second of the match, and a very costly error by Penrith. Darren McCarthy swooping on the ball. Of the under-23 grand final as the sun finally breaks through here, Wayne Pearce, and maybe that's a good omen for the rest of the afternoon.
I'll get the pink zinc out, David, in just a little while, I think, not just at the moment, but it's a big task in front of Penrith just here because 10 points down and the wind has dropped. Unfortunately for them, it's going to be a mighty effort if they can pick themselves up from here.
So South Sydney on the attack. It goes out through the halfback Byrne, and finally play up on the 22-metre line. There's the drop goal attempt. Is it successful? It has put South Sydney in the lead by 11 points to 0. And the drop goal coming through.
I don't think it's the only time we'll see field goal attempts from South Sydney either, David, because really they don't have to score too many points. They just have to try and when they get up into an attacking area, just put over those one-pointers. And if they get 3 or 4 of those, then I can't really see Penrith winning at all.
So the restart of play through the right winger McNeil. There goes the kick. Harrington takes play right up to the quarter line. A good run by the right winger for South Sydney. Taken up by Judd just outside the 22. And at the end of this match, of course, the man of the match award as Roberts makes the big break upfield. A beautiful pass to Byrne. He's got the fullback Robertson to beat the chip forward. He's been brought down. What will the referee Barnes do? Will he rule the late tackle? He does. And a penalty right under the post for South Sydney. Well, really, it's coming up between Eastern Suburbs and Parramatta. Will be joined by Billy J. Smith and Billy Anderson for that match. As Geyer takes play right to the quarter line. Centre field, the man going into dummy half is Thompson. It goes out through Delaney, in turn for Hammond. Cuts out Curry, picked up by McNeil. The man coming in to effect the tackle was the centre three-quarter David Moon. Kick over the top. The ball will run dead in goal. Or will it? It's come back in as Harrington comes back. But Penrith, for about the first time in this match, really putting, just a few moments ago, South Sydney took a firmer grip on this under-23 grand final with yet another drop goal. So 12-0 the scoreline at the Sydney Cricket Ground. The Rabbitohs, the minor premiers, are in the lead. As Penrith work the ball up to the 22 line. As I mentioned, big action this afternoon in the first grade. And this crowd waiting in great expectation as Penrith now move the ball out. That's for Tanzo taking play up midway between the half and the 22 in favour of Penrith's territory.
It's the few of the Penrith players, David, looking a little tired, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a few replacements come on shortly. But one of the main reasons for their tiredness, I think, is they're trying to run the ball out of their own territory rather than kicking on the early tackles. They're looking for a kick then, but the South defence was expecting it because it was late in the tackle count.
Well, Penrith, as we mentioned earlier, have battled their way through from 5th spot, and maybe that's really starting to tell now in this under-23 grand finals. The penalty goes to Penrith. Back to the Sydney Cricket Ground under-20 final action as Chisholm makes the break up over halfway. But it's 12-0 in favour of South Sydney, and the dream of Penrith to become the first side to win the grand final from 5th spot in the playoff series certainly doesn't look like coming to fruition this afternoon here at the Sydney Cricket Ground, Wayne Pearce. Penrith try to work the ball out from inside their own line. It's Thompson, the hooker, slots into dummy half to Vatanza. And really the Penrith side has virtually stopped to a walk at the moment, as Andrew Fitzhenry is claimed just inside his own 22. Good defence that time by Harrington of South Sydney. That's Gentles with the ball. Fitzhenry to Vatanza. To Geyer. Good pass away for Delaney, the halfback. He's worked very hard. The pass on the far side for Rod McNeil, but he's claimed well and truly inside the South Sydney end of the ground, and play will restart with the scrum. So Rod McNeil, the right winger for Penrith, seeing daylight for probably the first time from this South Sydney defence as 3 minutes countdown begins in this under-23 grand final. South's in line for their 10th premiership win at either under-23 or 3rd grade level, their last back in 1981. It's Judd skirting the blind side from dummy half, and South Sydney virtually now going through the motions on their triumphant march to the premiership trophy for 1986. Weeks. Thomas propped, claimed 10 metres inside Penrith's end of the ground. The Rabbitohs led by 10 points to 0 at half-time. 2 drop goals by the halfback Byrne has added to their tally in the second half, as Moon is claimed in the tackle. Steve O'Day. Very slippery, very wet in the middle of the Sydney Cricket Ground. We had showers leading up to this under-23 match, but the ground was also watered overnight. Maroon with the pass. Neville, short of the quarter line. Steve O'Day, the dummy half. Just under a minute and a half remaining as it comes back to Byrne again with another drop goal attempt. Will that sneak over? It looks good from here. 13 points to 0. South Sydney lead the grand final in under-23s. Worked in the scrum this time by Fitzhenry of Penrith. It's a Penrith scrum win. There's the kick over the top this time by Hammond. Moon goes back in defence for South Sydney, picks it up nicely, runs in front of his post before he's claimed in the tackle. So 32 seconds away from that victory lap at the Sydney Cricket Ground. South Sydney lead by 13 points to 0. As I mentioned, the man of the match, NEC's trophy, $250 cash incentive, and that announcement will be made by Graham Hughes in a few moments. We saw George Piggott making his way down, the South Sydney veteran and the first grade coach of '86, named the Coca-Cola Coach of the Year just last Thursday. No doubt coming out to offer his congratulations to Frank Curry, the under-23 coach. There's the hooter about to sound. It is all over. It is victory for South Sydney to start this grand final day off for 1986. A tremendous performance by the South Sydney side. They led by 10 points to 0 at half-time. 3 drop goals by their halfback Ray Byrne in the second half sees them take out the premiership. There's Darren McCarthy, the son of Big Bob, who we spoke to earlier in the telecast. So a jubilant moment for South Sydney. Is the man that inspired South Sydney right throughout this match, their little halfback Ray Byrne. A tremendous performance, and he'll be receiving the $250 cash incentive, and no doubt that's a popular decision. He's being hailed by his teammates there.
Thanks, Barry.
Tries for South Sydney by Alan Nelson and Ross Harrington in the first half. A conversion by Darren Level saw the South Sydney side lead 10-0 at half-time. And as I mentioned, 3 drop goals in the second 40 minutes by Ray. Only be one winner today. That honour belongs to South Sydney. And now Graham Hughes is down there with our NEC man of the match, Ray Byrne.
Thanks, David. Ray, congratulations on the final performance.
Thanks a lot.
The forwards certainly played well.
They trained their house down the last 2 weeks, and everyone sorted out. Penrith getting there from 5th. We went out there to prove we were the best side. I think we did it today. I think we, dominated the whole game.
Conditions weren't that bad in the middle?
No, they're good. Bit of champagne.
Yeah, nice to join the celebrations. Listen, congratulations to our man of the match, Curtis of NEC, $250.
Thanks a lot, Graham. I'd like to thank NEC. Thanks a lot.
All right, well done. There he is, our man.